How am I not going to comment on this? Some of you have posted questions saying as much. What do I think on it? Let me try to be a little bit unique. The scrutiny that LeBron supposedly faces, according to Rich Paul, etc., is like nothing anyone else has ever had to face. It's much closer to you've been forgiven for things that deserved scrutiny on a level that no one else has ever experienced, while insisting on proceeding with behavior and saying things that continue to deserve the utmost scrutiny. And I'm doing a whole big long video on this, assembling all the different BS examples. And this is another one. For a few reasons. Why did he have to say this? You just sound so insecure. You sound so insecure. What is inside of you driving you to need to say these things? Why do you feel the need to try to tell people your version of history instead of history just speaking for itself? Or tell people what has happened, such as your ESPYs speech where you force down people's throats the idea that you've never cheated the game, things like that. Why would anyone ever need to say something like that unless somewhere inside of you it's eating away that you know you cheated the game, that you know Miami saved your ass and barely saved your ass. Some of you LeBron fans were upset when I took that look at the 2013 finals and Ray Allen keeping him from being eliminated. Well, wait until I show you the video of 2011. I mean, holy shit. Even joining a super team, LeBron was on the brink of disappearing into obscurity. So what would have happened to him going to a lesser team? Kobe wasn't going to take his ass. He wasn't going to be able to hop to the Lakers. Going and joining Boston, perhaps? I mean, that would have been a blatant cowardly move, which going to Miami was a blatantly cowardly move, but disguised at least a little bit, but simply going and joining the people that were beating you. But, you know, with the LeBron narrative, they would have found a way to make an excuse for it. Staying in Cleveland? No, man. No, wasn't going to work out. I mean, you guys act like when he got swept by the Spurs in 2007 that he didn't have several seasons under his belt, that he hadn't had a chance to mature. But if he would have stayed in Cleveland, a lot of this hate wouldn't be there. And at least we could have a real conversation comparing LeBron and MJ, because that would be interesting. That would be more interesting if their careers were actually more similar to where we could look at them as players, as individual talents, and then address this GOAT debate. But their careers are so different, it sort of makes this entire topic really ridiculous on that level alone. You can't run off to another team that has some of the best players in the entire league at their peaks. Anyway, we'll get to that in the 2011 finals video that I'll release soon. One of the greatest parts of this quote, and by great, I mean terrible. My career was going to be my career as far as individually, because I know how much I put into the game, and I know how much I strived to be as great as I can be. Do you need to get on the ESPYs stage and make sure that we all agree with you about your self-perceived work ethic? Because we all remember what was happening to you before you fled to Miami. You were, I almost said on the brink of collapse. You did collapse. We watched you collapse. Anyone other than LeBronites knows that this guy's career has been built on letting better teammates carry the bulk of the load while he racks up unimpressive points, unimpressive rebounds, uncalled technicals, uncalled traveling, uncalled offensive fouls, layups. So easy, it makes people turn off their televisions. You think you would have gotten away with all of that if the NBA had given up on the LeBron idea, which they would have? They would have had to have if you continued to fail year after year to deliver, and you never did deliver. You never did deliver. Your teammates delivered for you. But because that happened, the idea of LeBron was allowed to live on, and the lies to protect what really transpired was allowed to continue. So this idea that your career was going to be your career, no. No. And then the double down quote. You're damn right. I'm chosen. I'm chosen? Ain't nothing changing that. Maybe less rings, but dominant from start to finish. Just maybe less rings. Like that doesn't matter. Where do rings factor in? Where do rings factor in? But, you know, Tura said this guy sees himself as a deity, and I don't think he's too off from that. Like, there's some shit really wrong with LeBron, which makes it that much more upsetting that people love him. I didn't always hate LeBron. You know, he did shit that changed the way people felt about him. But the second part of the scrutiny topic, the scrutiny angle on this, is that, oh my God, Shannon Sharpe finally criticized LeBron. And yeah, indeed, that is surprising and refreshing, but it wasn't that harsh. I mean, really, the only thing you can say is that he finally didn't agree and find a way to go along with the absurd shit coming out of LeBron's mouth. The only thing he and Stephen A really did was finally be like, well, that's not quite true. It's a sad state when we have to compliment our sports analysts for finally not agreeing with absurdity. But even then, like when Shannon Sharpe turned it over to Stephen A was still complimenting LeBron. He was like, from that point on, LeBron was unstoppable. You know, Miami was an important part in your career, and from that point on, you were unstoppable. So they're still throwing in compliments that aren't even true. What do you mean he was unstoppable? He got stopped a lot by old men and then the children of the Golden State Warriors, all while saddled up with incredible rosters. So don't tell me that LeBron was unstoppable. Not only was he stoppable, he got stopped while alongside incredible NBA players. Brian Windbag, of course, you know, it's so weird that it's hard to even keep track of who the biggest dick writers are out there. Clearly Nick Wright's up there, but Shannon, you know, people pretty much imagine Shannon falling asleep masturbating to LeBron. Brian Windhorse, are you kidding me? So Windhorse tries to save LeBron in a really, really sneaky manner by saying, they can both be true at the same time. No, motherfucker, they can't. No, those are two things. Two opposite things. That LeBron didn't need Miami, or that LeBron did need Miami. No, Windhorse, they aren't both true. Nice try. Nice fucking try when LeBron says something that is as incorrect as can be said, and you still try to find a way. I mean, I guess we got to give Shannon credit when you stack him up against the likes of Windhorse. LeBron fleeing to Miami and appearing to be exhausted or mentally fatigued or competitively fatigued, as only LeBron fans will ever claim that he didn't quit on the Cavaliers in actual playoff games before fleeing to Miami. So that's like comparing LeBron fizzling out from emotion and mental weakness like Michael Jordan claimed he was feeling when he retired the first time, except that Michael at least completed the job and then said, fuck, I need a break. And the reason I mentioned the mental fatigue, the emotional weakness, is when you saw LeBron in Miami, outside of enjoying those fast break lobs exchanged between him and D Wade while Bosch did all the dirty work, he was absolutely abysmal in the finals. How can you be the third option? And the numbers back this up. How can you be the third option on the team that you go to because you still aren't ready to carry that load? You still aren't that man. And you need the protection. You need to be under the wings of these other guys, particularly D Wade, having already had finals MVP experience under his belt. How can you go there under the protection of those guys and fizzle and claim that you were going to be fine on your own? Like I said, it would have been interesting to see what would happen to LeBron if he would have just stayed in Cleveland. And I think a lot of people would hate him less, even if he didn't get any titles, even if he failed to meet the hype. But falsely meeting the hype is even worse. How's a guy that underperforms that badly while under the protection of incredible talent in Miami and a coach that was willing to redesign a system around him, how are you going to claim that you would have eventually gotten Cleveland there? Maybe in that weak-ass Eastern Conference, you could have made it to the finals a couple more times. You weren't going to fucking beat anybody coming out of the West. LeBron would have been another failed attempt by the NBA to replace Jordan or be the next Jordan. I mean, he's not the next Jordan, but you can't claim that the NBA hasn't been attempting to have a fill-in for Jordan ever since Jordan. There are a lot of really talented people that have come and gone in the NBA, and without a little help here and there, without being on the right team, without a little nudge from Adam Silver or even David Stern, that's the difference between disappearing into obscurity and talking about, yeah, that was a really, really talented player. It's interesting why he didn't end up winning. Rob Parker claimed that, yeah, LeBron would have eventually gotten 2 and maybe fewer trips. Well, that's a pretty big claim. You don't just throw out there that he would have gotten 2, but maybe he would have. I don't know. But if he'd gotten 2 in fewer trips, I would have found that more respectable than these bullshit 4 in all these other trips. So LeBron, quote unquote, clapped back by saying, damn right, I'm the chosen one. I mean, the ego's just freaking out of control. And the fact that you tattooed chosen one on yourself before you had done a damn thing, before the NBA nicknamed you the chosen one, before you'd done a damn thing, was a pretty clear warning to the rest of us that this story about LeBron was going to work out one way or another. The decision was enough to give us the warning that we needed, because he's been highly criticized for it. A lot of people look at it as a really, really disgusting display of behavior, but it was televised. ESPN chose to televise it. So who's more to blame here? LeBron or the people that were willing to promote this behavior. The fact that instead of saying, no, handle this maturely, handle this appropriately, handle this within your organization, they were like, yeah, we'll get on board with this disgusting bullshit. We will televise you leaving your current organization out to dry without enough time to change their tactics for the next season. We will get on board with you colluding behind people's backs to go and form a super team in Miami. We'll get on board with that. That's great. If ESPN, the league, etc., were willing to forgive LeBron for that, what more did you need to see that he was going to be forgiven for anything and everything? I mean, forgiven isn't even the right way of saying it. They promoted it. They promoted it. And it's easy for these guys on ESPN to come on TV and talk in hindsight that that was not a very classy move. He could have handled that differently. You guys televised it. Shut up. Stop pretending to be virtuous. Stop pretending that you have any ethics when you get on the same screen and promote it and defend it and jock ride. Promoting the brand of a player is so important now that the game itself has been sacrificed. And that's why viewership is where it is.